Welcome to this week's Inside Track with Scottish Sun. As always, we've got Jim Delahunt here with me. Jim, no sooner did we put our Cheltenham preview out the other day that the market started going haywire about Lossiemouth. Looks like the 2-year plan to take it to the champion hurdle is going up in smoke. They're going to the Mayors, which is odds on for. They've not confirmed this, but with the way the markets are heading, is that now what you expect to happen?
Yeah, Lossiemouth runs in the Mares, absolutely no doubt. I think Rich Ritchie has decided that his best chance of a Cheltenham winner is the Mare, and she's going to go there and avoid the big guns, Constitution Hill and Brighter Days Ahead in the Champion Hurdle. And despite what he's been saying all along, that she was going for the Champion Hurdle, I can see where he's coming from, because Constitution Hill has come back. He has impressed people. Maybe not as many as he impressed a couple of years ago, but he's back. He's got 4 working legs. He's got an engine. And of course, we've got this new challenge from Brighter Days Ahead, who I fancy, obviously, from the Gordon Elliott yard. She looks top class. Jack Kennedy is back from injury. He's had, I think he's had 4 rides now in maiden hurdles. He's back, he's fit, and he'll be looking forward to that day on Tuesday. But Lossiemouth goes for the Mares. These things happen. And I would imagine between now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, we'll have a few other switches as well.
It also saves Paul Townend a headache because he can now ride Stateman in the Champion and Lossiemouth in the Mare. So do you think he's maybe had an input into that as well by nudging them down that route?
I would have thought so. I think it would be very difficult. I can't remember if we said this or not, but I think it would be very difficult for Paul Townend to get off a champion hurdler. Whether you thought last year's champion hurdle was not a great race, but to get off a champion hurdler a year later would be very difficult indeed. He's probably had a word and said, look, go to the Mares. You'll win that easy. I'll win it easy for you. Bar a fall, Lossiemouth looks as though she's going to be very short for the Mares. So yes, I suspect Townend had some input into that decision.
He'll be definitely riding Ballyburn in the Brown Advisory. And the entries for this are really small again, and so's the Arkle. I mean, I think there's only 9 left in at this stage. Very few UK horses to be seen. I mean, is that just the reality of Cheltenham now? There's nothing we can do about this. They can tinker about with races. They can try and force them down different routes, but purely, there's just not the horse population for this, is there?
Yeah, at this level, Robert, at this level, and we've seen it for a few years in Ireland. Some of the grade ones in Ireland, 3, 4, 5 runners every time they pop up, and we're certainly going that way with the Arkle on Tuesday. We're heading that way with the Brown Advisory on Wednesday. I put up Ballyburn at 6-4. He ain't going to go off 6-4 now. I think he's going to be a very, very short price favourite, as is Majborough in the Arkle. It is what it is. We're stuck with it. We just have to cheer them home if they put up impressive performances.
Yeah, well, we'll look at this week's action with the Imperial Cup as the main event at Sandown. Always strikes me a weekend this time of the year is to keep your hands in your pockets and maybe spend it speaking to your loved ones because you're about to ignore them for the rest of the next week. But we'll have a look. We've had a look at it anyway. What do you fancy in that one, Jim?
I've gone for a big price here, Robert, and I've gone for a big price because I'm surprised it's a big price. I'd actually have it a lot lower. So I've backed it each way. It was around 25-1 last night. It's called 10-10-10. It's trained by Fergal O'Brien. It's going to be ridden by his stable jockey, Johnny Burke, who is up here. I'm speaking to you from Ayr this morning, and he's going to be up here at Ayr to ride a long odds-on favourite in the first race today. But he'll be back down at Sandown tomorrow. 10-10-10 has Cheltenham form, and he has top-class Cheltenham handicap form, and yet he's not in a race at Cheltenham. He's coming to the Imperial Cup. I think they found a good opportunity for this horse. I think he's a huge price at the odds. He finished 4th in the Greatwood Hurdle earlier this season. Last year, towards the end, when he'd been hiked up for winning a couple of egg and spoon races, he finished 3rd in the Swinton. So he's been there and mixed it in these top-class handicap hurdles. I actually gave him a mention. I don't know if anybody remembers. When I tipped up Altabelli a few weeks ago at Ascot, I actually said, keep an eye out for 10-10-10. I think that'll run a big race. And I'll have to say, coming round the bend with 2 flights to jump, I thought 10-10-10 was going to get involved, but he just faded. Possibly didn't get the 2.5 miles that day. I think 2 miles, fast pace, hurly-burly of the Imperial Cup at Sandown will suit him very well. I think he's nicely handicapped. He's been dropped £2, despite the fact that he looked as if he didn't stay at Ascot last time. Jonathan Burke is riding out of his skin. He's got some great opportunities at Cheltenham next week as well. And I think at the price, he's 25-1. I suspect it'll be lower, though. 25-1 each way, 4 places, possibly more if you shop around. 10-10-10 is the one for me. But I should mention, Robert, last year's winner, Go Dante, is £2 lower than last year. So that's very interesting. And of course, trained by Ollie Murphy, ridden by Sean Bowen, and they are flying as well going into Cheltenham.
Yeah, the one I like in the race, Spirits Bay, has a bit of Cheltenham form as well. He ran in that Unibet hurdle where Constitution Hill came out and won it very easily, obviously, bar the mistake at the last, but he won it pretty effortlessly. But it's a line through the horse that was second, Brentford Hope, that I quite like. And the Spirits Bay was only 2.5 lengths behind Brentford Hope off level weights in that race. Brentford Hope's rated 141, and Spirits Bay gets into this off 125. So that looks really workable to me. He's got form over course and distance. He was second in a maiden hurdle here, so we know he likes the track. And good to soft ground. I'll be right up his street. So Spirits Bay, I think he's about 8-1. I think I'll be taking that one against you.
Yeah, and if we both get in the frame or one of us win, Robert, we'll be doing well. So we'd be delighted if we crack this Imperial Cup. So 10-10-10 for me, Spirits Bay for you. And just a quick mention, I meant to mention earlier, Affadil, which ran a good race when second at Musselburgh last time. Freddie Gingle taking off the £3. Paul Nicholls, who I'm going to mention in a moment when we get to the EBF final, I think that'll run a big race, but I'm sticking with 10-10-10 each way.
Well, we've got the novice handicap for the hurdlers as well. And you like Belliano, I believe, which again, we're looking at Cheltenham form here, or what's going to be Cheltenham form next week with the new Lion. How much have you been impressed with him over the last few months? Belliano.
Yeah, Belliano, I did see him run second to the new Lion. That was way back earlier in the season. He's since won twice very, very easily indeed. Paul Nicholls has said after each of those wins, he won't be going to Cheltenham, so he hasn't changed his mind. He's come for this EBF final. It's run over 2.5 miles at Sandown. It's a race which throws up good horses year after year that don't go on to Cheltenham. They'll maybe pop up at entry later in the season, but 2.5 miles round Sandown, I think Paul has got this horse very nicely handicapped. Harry Cobden is going to be in the saddle. I don't think they'll be, I said it in the column this week, I don't think they'll be making too many headlines at Cheltenham next week, but I think he's got a great chance of picking up a huge prize, £80,000 in the pot for this one at Sandown on Saturday. It's the 150, it's the EBF National Hunt Novices Handicap Hurdle Final. They've all been running against other novices at level weights. They're all in a handicap here. Belliano, I think Paul's got him very nicely handicapped indeed. And again, a big thing for me, visually impressive the last twice.
Yeah, it's actually the one I quite like in the race, and I totally get your Belliano, and I will be backing him, is the horse that was second to him at Market Raising last month, Silver Thorn.
Yeah.
There's a pool of the weights with that horse. Silver Thorn gave him £3 that day, got beat 3.5 lengths. Now, into the handicap, is getting £7. So at 18-1, I think he's definitely worth a second look for an each way, but I'm totally with you on Belliano. I think he was very, very impressive these twice that he's won.
Yeah, and Johnny Burke riding that horse Silver Thorn, the jockey I mentioned earlier on, he's on that for Emma Lavelle, whose horses are running very well indeed, without having any superstars. She's popping in the winners right, left and centre. And I think we should mention our Sun columnist, Ben Pauling, because his horses are flying going into Cheltenham. He's got some great chances next week. And he's got It's Hard to Know under Ben Jones in this one, and also Meet Me by the Sea under £5 claimer Callum Pritchard. And you would be surprised if they didn't run well, Robert, even though we fancy Belliano.
Yeah, just another two to mention in the Sandown card. We spoke about O'Connell the last time, who put up a great performance to win. In the 3:35, a horse called Dreaming Blue was leading O'Connell at the last and just got ground down up the hill. I think in this 3:35 chase, I think he'll go well from the front again. So I think Dreaming Blue is definitely worth a look in the 3:35. And then an hour later in the 4:45, Mint Gold for Lucinda Russell. Lucinda's only run on the card. She sends him all the way down to Sandown. He ran there in December over 2 miles and ran the weirdest race you've ever seen. He was miles out the back of the television. You weren't expecting to see him again, and he absolutely motored up the hill to finish fourth, beating only 7.5 lengths. The horse is 11. He's a bit of a monkey. They're stepping him up in chip here, but they're sending Jack Power down to take £7 off his back. He's in flying form. He's won 3 of his last 8 rides. So I just that caught my eye. The one thing I would say is his best runs in his life have been when he's been up with the pace. So I would be keen to see if Jack Power's lining him up at the front. I'd be keen to see how he runs. But it'll be one that there's no prices out at the moment. If he's a big enough price, I might look at him as a bet on the Sandown card.
Yeah, I think, like you, I will talk myself on to backing Mint Gold, especially with Jack Power riding so well. I mean, we talk about conditional jockeys being worth their weight in gold if they've got a decent allowance. He's still on 7. It seems to work for him. A lot of trainers using him now. Earlier on, when you mentioned Dreaming Blue, the only other one I would put up in that race, and again, I'm not overly keen to bet it because I think it'll be short, but I think Ho Jolie Smoke will run a lot better than it ran at Newbury last time. But good luck with Dreaming Blue.
You're working at Ayr today and again tomorrow in your capacity as a racecourse announcer. Have you looked at tomorrow's card yet? What do you fancy in that?
Yeah, I've had a look at tomorrow's card. It's a busy little card. We've got 7 races tomorrow. We finish with a very well populated bumper. We've got 13 runners in that, and there might be a few for the future in that if you're watching your video back on Sunday. So keep an eye on the bumper. But the 2 I'm going to flag up, Robert, are Tommy Combats, which is trained by Martin Todhunter, going to be ridden by Henry Brook on Saturday. Runs over 2 miles here in the 2:17. Now, Sean Quinlan would normally be the rider, but he rides for his wife, Lizzie, on Heritier. So I don't think we should read too much into that. The worry I have is that Martin Todhunter's horses are not really firing, but I do know that he thinks this horse has got a big future. It's very well handicapped, and I think it could run a big race. So I'll be watching out for the prices in the morning. There's only 7 runners, so you're only each way 1-2, but Tommy Combats, I think, will run a big race. And the other one I want to mention is Nick Alexander's mare, Anamanda. Now, this runs in the Lady Buttons qualifier. That's at 2:50. Now, Nick's got 2 horses running against each other, Ned Tanner and Arctic Row, in the big race at 4 o'clock. So that'll be an interesting race. But this Anamanda, it's £5 out of the handicap here, which normally would put me off in a race like this at Ayr. But Dom Hislop, who is Nick's new conditional to replace Bruce Lynn, who of course has lost his claim now, Dom Hislop takes 10 off. So fingers crossed that Anamanda is actually 5 well in, because Dom rides very well. And I think he could give that horse a real chance, putting her £5 well in this handicap. She's very, very consistent. Hopefully an each way price. Anamanda for Nick Alexander, who did say in his blog this weekend that he targets this meeting.
Yeah. The only one I would say is in your the 2:17, the race you put up, Tommy Combats. I think Heads or Hearts will be a big danger to you. I think that horse should have won at Weatherby the last time. Just had a slow jump at the last. He got ground out by one of Sue Smith's, but they were miles back to the third. I think he's only went up £3 for that, so I think he'll be competitive. So hopefully we can maybe get the 1-2 again there.
Fingers crossed, Robert. And of course, I've napped one of Lucinda Russell's at Ayr today, mixed degree. And fingers crossed, I think she's got 15 or 16 runners over the 2 days. I hope they all run well. And of course, you and I are looking forward to Tuesday with the Ultima Handicap Chase with Whistle Stop Tour. And of course, you mentioned Meyertown as well from the stable. So we'll just wait and see what the declarations are on Sunday for that one. But we're on at decent prices. And even though it's down to 8-1 now, Robert, I'm seriously considering giving that the nap selection on Tuesday. But more about that later.
Yep. That's all for us today, folks. If you want to have a look at our Cheltenham preview, you can find that on YouTube as well. Next week, we'll be back in the morning, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, with a quick show, just updating you on what's happening at Cheltenham and what we both fancy. So good luck with your bets this weekend, folks. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Robert. All the best, everybody.
Cheers.